Beatboxing. Vocal percussion. Boots and cats. Making fart noises with your mouth. In some way, shape, or form, everyone has heard of beatboxing. Whether it was a viral video on Facebook, some kids beatboxing at the school lunch table, a performance on a talent show, a Call of Duty video, TED Talks, or even if you heard it through the popularity of a cappella groups, beatboxing has cemented itself as a fun and easily accessible creative pursuit. All you need is your mouth. Like with all creative pursuits, a competitive community began to form around it, and with competition came all the soaring victories and devastating defeats, but at the heart of it, a real sense of community. This is the story of Beatbox Battle.
Stand. I'm representing for the gangsta shit. Stand. Biggity, guess who fight? Stand. And don't stop, giddy. Stand.
No strips.
Cocaíno.
Before we get into the competitive scene, I think it's fair to take a look into the origins of beatboxing. Though the term beatboxing is relatively new, only coming into the collective consciousness in the 80s, vocal percussion has been around for so much longer than that and features heavily in the traditions of various cultures, like the Indian percussive vocalizations of Konakol, and to some extent in the Khoisan languages, as well as other African languages that involve the use of clicking, like Xhosa. In the West, vocal percussion techniques can be found in early American folk music. The earliest clip I could find was a performance by Sonny Boy Williamson II of Bye Bye Birdie. Notice the little percussive hits, and here's a modern take on that. Beatboxing as we know it today came about in the 1980s, with the rise of hip-hop and hip-hop culture, and the skill is considered the unofficial sixth pillar of hip-hop, the others being graffiti, MCing, DJing, b-boying, and knowledge. Originally, a beatbox referred to a drum machine, such as the classic Roland TR-808 drum machine, which became a staple for hip-hop music. However, due to the high cost of equipment like samplers and drum machines, people got creative. And out of ingenuity, people started making drum sounds with their mouths. There were three standout names in the early era of beatboxing, and these are kind of like the godfathers: Dougie Fresh, Darren Buffy Robinson,
Yo, what's up, man? Yo, you gotta do one thing for me before we go to a commercial, kid. Yo, Buff. What's up? Can I get a for you before we go to commercial, kid? You got it right here. Yeah. Nice. Pretty one nigga. Pretty one nigga too.
And Biz Marquee. Like I said before, these three men are often considered to be the godfathers of beatbox, as they brought both popularity and legitimacy to the skills through their music, as well as setting the standard for future beatboxers. Throughout the 80s and into the 90s, beatbox and its relevance began to fade in the mainstream. The perception surrounding the skill had shifted, and people viewed it more as a novelty than as a must-have pillar of hip-hop. However, in this brief downturn, beatboxing and vocal percussion would find its way into other genres of music like jazz, as popularized by Bobby McFerrin of Don't Worry Be Happy fame. Beatbox would also find its way onto the silver screen with Michael Winslow in the Police Academy series. Beatbox would eventually find its way back into the hip-hop mainstream, with artists like Kenny Muhammad and Rahzel leading the charge and innovating on the basic techniques laid before them by doing things like singing while beatboxing and emulating various other instruments that weren't drums. The skill cap had been raised, and along with that, a whole new wave of beatboxers. Going into the 2000s, beatbox would once again find itself in the mainstream, following the trend of falling in and out of the consciousness, with artists like Bjork and Justin Timberlake using it in their music.
It's the human beatbox.
No, God!
Yeah, that's me.
No, God, please, no!
Piano, hit it.
However, all this newfound attention would pale in comparison to the biggest cultural trend of the 2000s, the rise of the internet. Prior to the internet, beatboxing never really had its own community, its own space to grow and evolve. It was always seen as an add-on to the hip-hop community or viewed by the public as a novelty. The World Wide Web gave beatboxers the freedom to flourish outside of the expectations set by public perceptions. The internet provided, and still provides people with similar interests, the opportunity to build their own subcultures. In 2001, beatboxing.co.uk was opened and would eventually be rebranded into humanbeatbox.com. The website was a haven for all things beatbox. It had articles, interviews, news about events, but there were two major keys to the website. The first being a collection of MP3s and eventually video tutorials for every sound you could ever hope to make. And the second was an addition of a forum, which allowed people from all over the world to come together and share their love of beatboxing, as well as competition. In 2005, one man decided to take the battles offline and out of the underground to create Beatbox Battles trademark. Alexander Bülow, otherwise known as Bilo, was initially exposed to hip-hop at a young age by some of his American friends whose families were stationed in West Berlin at the time. Almost immediately, Bilo was hooked. He started b-boying, tagging, and eventually beatboxing. Throughout his teenage years and into the 90s, Bilo and his friends would focus their efforts mainly into graffiti, which in turn garnered him a reputation in the community. This reputation allowed him to take the first steps into hosting events. He started off with small turntable battles, but eventually garnered enough recognition to be invited by larger and more prestigious competitions. Bilo was known for his bombastic and engaging style of hosting, and it's something we still catch glimpses of today. This is what made Bilo even think of starting beatbox battles. As an article on humanbeatbox.com explains, quote, "At one of the battles in Hamburg, while hosting, Bilo noticed one of the DJs was having technical issues, severe enough for a technician to have to take a look. The pause in the competition was enough to get people booing and demanding their money back. Bilo took it as an opportunity rather than a dilemma and started beatboxing for the audience for a few minutes till the technical issues were resolved. The crowd cheered as Bilo started to vocal scratch and beatbox the next morning in the hotel jacuzzi before his massage. Bilo came up with the idea of a world beatbox competition from his moment on stage the day prior. Beatbox battles had existed only underground and unofficially, occasionally ending in a brawl. He then came up with his brand, Beatbox Battle, eventually Beatbox Battle TV. In 2002, Bilo put on and hosted the first German beatbox battle, which was the first battle of its kind and featured professional judges. Beatbox was no longer being relegated to an add-on to other hip-hop events. It was taking the main stage and being hosted by Bilo. After the success in the German scene, Bilo began traveling to other countries to set up scenes, and as communities began to form all over Europe, they would be brought together for the first time. In 2003, Human Beatbox hosted BoxCon, a beatbox convention to bring beatboxers together from all over the world to share ideas and perform. Many people were in attendance, and Bilo used this opportunity to network with top beatboxers from other countries to build up to his biggest event yet. The year was 2005, and Beatbox was about to have its first world champion. But first, how do you judge a beatbox battle?
Hey, Vsauce, Michael here.
There are 4 main criteria judges use to score a beatbox routine: musicality, technicality, originality, and showmanship. I think the easiest to explain is showmanship. Basically, you're being judged on your stage persona, your stage presence. It is confidence with a polish of clinically executed, well-rehearsed routines. It's the battle mentality, the mindset which allows you to pivot based on what your opponent did to counter them. Most importantly, showmanship is about entertainment. Can you do all of these things while keeping the crowd engaged? Like with any skill, technicality is the measure of a person's mechanical ability. The ability to perform complex structures and even unconventional time signatures. In beatbox, technicality has become synonymous with high-speed beats, but just because a beat is fast for fast's sake does not mean it's the most technical beat. I think there's also a crispiness factor that needs to be taken into account. Some people just have really clean kits and know how to use the mic in a way to get the crispiest sound possible. And maybe this ties into showmanship a little bit, but you know, all the criteria are connected. For musicality, humanbeatbox.com puts it the best when they say, essentially, the term musicality is defined as the quality of being melodious and tuneful, with tastefulness in rhythm and harmoniousness. Many people think that a good singer is automatically a musical beatboxer. Well, that might be true. It's also because the routines are structured with mindful attention to detail of musical elements like tone, volume, and balance. Originality is the personal flair you bring to all of the other criteria. This is probably the most important one of all. Sure, you can practice other people's routines to learn how they flow and improve your technical skills, but when you get on stage, the judges want to hear you, not someone doing a cover of another beatboxer. At the heart of it all is, of course, creativity. That is what people want to see.
Let's give it a try.
Can you announce something in
Singapore language, really. Hey, just for real. People, hey, don't stop laughing. 雪花飘飘，北风萧萧。
So, we've made it to the present. The next World Championship isn't for a while, and many events have already been postponed or canceled due to...
And by the way, you know, I sit on a stand, and to get hot, I got hairy legs that turn.
However, the beatbox community always finds a way. Recently, there have been a slew of online battles, tournaments, and collaborations, which is one of the major benefits for having such an active online community. Being primarily internet-based also has other benefits, like documentation. You can literally watch people grow and improve right before your eyes. Take Alexinho, world champion now, but if you look back to some of these old French beatbox championship videos, you know, he's like a little kid. Like I said before, so many stories have been captured and posted online, and I've only really scratched the surface. So if you have any story you want told, please let me know in the comments. And if you made it to the end, you know, drop a like if you like the video. Maybe consider subscribing. But all in all, thank you so much. Peace.